All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Artifact Alchemy Podcast. That is right, episode number 1, kicking it all off here. Excited to be here, and there's just so many reasons to enjoy this moment because the debut of our podcast, a debut of Artifact Alchemy altogether, and soon Artifact itself is going to be releasing. By this time tomorrow, it should be out everywhere for everyone. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm Breaky CPK, joined by Elevated, your co-hosts together, and we are super excited once again to be here. Elevated, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I am very excited as well. I have been grinding the hell out of Artifact since I got a hold of the beta that I got from attending TI last year. I probably, honestly, have spent more time playing Artifact than I have sleeping or eating.
It's quite a bit, yeah. That's you're that addicted. All right. See, I'm not on that level yet. I will say it took me a bit longer. I didn't unfortunately get to attend TI, so I didn't have the pass there. But funny story. I sent out a tweet just saying like, oh, how I wish I was in the Artifact beta at least to try. It would be cool. And I got a I got a DM from some random person. I'm not gonna lie, just some random guy is like, here, try this code, and I was like, okay, and it worked. And I asked him who he was, and I was like, thank you very much. And he's like, he never responded. He actually never responded. It was a ghost. I mean, I don't know how it happened, but no. Point is, obviously, I was very fortunate, I guess you could say, and then I was able to get a key, and thus the journey has begun. And you and I talked quite a bit. You kept asking me, was I going to be interested in Artifact, and how hyped was I? And I kept telling you, I'm going to wait for it to come out, but when the NDA was lifted, I saw people streaming it. It definitely got my taste going as far as wanting to try it, and boy, I'm glad I'm trying it. And here we are now, man, with Artifact Alchemy.
Oh yeah, that was kind of a funny process because I was like, I see you playing Magic playing Magic Arena.
Yeah,
I'm playing Magic Arena with you. Are you sure you don't want to get into Artifact? And sure enough, within like 2 or 3 games of playing, once you got the hold of the beta, how hooked?
I was pretty hooked. Not gonna lie, and been feeding it since. So I understand the obsession, and really though and I know this is easy for us to say, but I really can't wait for everyone else to try it. Like, it's going to make it that much better for so many reasons. But okay, so this podcast, guys, a couple of things we want to go over. Not going to be on every podcast introduction, but this being the first one, not only for the podcast, but like I said, what is our new project in Artifact Alchemy? Let's start with ourselves. To be honest, there might be people tuning in that, of course, don't know us, and that's understandable. We both happen to be from the Dota universe as far as the world goes over there, and very similar to Artifact, of course, but I'll do myself, and then you can obviously introduce yourself. So I'm Break CBK. I'm a caster within not only Dota 2, but other games before that. I've been a caster in the esports scene for close to 8 years now, I want to say. But Heroes of New Earth and then Dota 2 were the 2 big projects for me. And I'm not going to sit here and say, now I'm going to be an Artifact caster moving forward by any means, but I have ambitions to do that at the same time. It's definitely a game that, like we talked about, has pulled myself in. And not only do I want to be a caster for possible opportunities here and there, but create content such as this with this podcast show and many more things. But that's kind of a quick rundown as far as who I am. But Elevated, take over for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you're not referring to yourself as the voice of Han anymore? Because
I never tried to do that, but people did call me that, I guess.
Well, anyway, I'm not nearly as prestigious as you are in the esports scene, but I have been kind of in and around the scene for, I guess, like 2.5, 3 years now. I come from like a coaching background. I played like sports in college and was a coach outside of the esports realm in various sports that way.
Yeah.
And I got really excited about esports as a whole when I attended TI 6. And right before that, I'd started writing some articles for liquiddota.com. I was working on a couple of startups. I worked for PVGNA, which was a Dota sort of like educational training content curation site. And then that went out of business about 6 months ago, and I started my own project with a semi-pro professional Dota player named Jenkins, which is called Dota Alchemy, and that's sort of what I've been building ever since then. We've got a YouTube channel and a site, and we make a lot of really dope educational Dota content, and so it's kind of what we're hoping to bring to Artifact as well. With Artifact Alchemy, And more specifically, one of the things that Dota Alchemy has been able to do is create a very positive and sort of like uplifting community, which I think is fairly rare in esports at the moment, and something that we could definitely use a lot more of. So that's definitely part of sort of like that alchemy idea of just like creating something where people can learn and have fun together.
Yeah, that transitions nicely again into what alchemy is, and in this case, Artifact Alchemy. Like you said, it's ultimately an umbrella. This being the Artifact division. You have the Dota division. You can check that out. The videos over there, whether or not you're a Dota player, but at least for an idea. When it comes to Artifact, however, this is just the beginning, and I'm going to be upfront and frank with you guys. We literally didn't have this idea until maybe, I want to say 2 days ago. It just kind of, all of a sudden, again, with my really liking the game, I kind of brought it up to you, and we're just going with it now. So here we are. Obviously, the game's just about to launch. But point is, as you're mentioning, Artifact Alchemy is going to be about educational videos, and as well as this community that we want to create, both being able to watch and enjoy content together, both educational and even some fun stuff, definitely. But a Discord community, I think, is a big thing, of course. Discord itself is no doubt proven to be a very successful social media program of sorts, allowing people to interact and come together and enjoy games together. So we do have a Discord server, which we'll get you guys that information and invite to it here in just a little bit later on in the show. But going to get that kicked off. As well as this podcast. This is, again, just one of the many pieces of content that we definitely have planned and are excited to bring you guys. So with all of that said, feel free to let us know any ideas that you may have. Give us suggestions. You can, obviously hit us up on Twitter or Twitch or wherever it may be. Make it more of an official email, now that I think about it. On the line for that.
I guess we probably should also just say, like, what is your background as card games?
That's a good point. That's fair.
So for me, I've been playing Magic the Gathering since I was, 5 or 6. Some neighbor across the street gave me my first Magic card around then. I was like, it was a White Knight back from like whatever set that was, one of the super early ones, maybe Arabian Nights or something like that.
That was way before me, I'm not going to lie. So
I've been playing Magic off and on, like, I'm 29 now, so like 24 years, not consistently. I've been around card games for a long time. And then as far as Dota, I've been playing Dota since the very first map ever in Dota as well. So I know the universe well, I know the heroes well, and I just love strategy games in general. So that's what has really attracted me to Artifact, just merging two of my favorite games ever, Magic, card game style strategy, plus Dota.
Personally, so earlier on, I had friends that had Magic, but I was never really that into it. I had friends where I'd go to their house and play with their Magic cards, we would, do our games, and whether or not we were even playing it correctly, who knows? This is when I was, pretty young, but I wasn't necessarily too heavily involved in the trading card game scene until maybe like 4 years ago. I actually did start to pick up packs of Magic, specifically, as you're getting at. I worked for a company called S2 Games, which was the creators of Heroes of New Earth, and as a result of that, working at a gaming company, naturally, there's going to be a lot of people that want to play board games, trading card games, whatever. And so I kind of got hooked on it for about a year there, playing real-life Magic, and, even went to a couple events, had fun there. Then, of course, Hearthstone went eventually a natural transition there. Had a lot of fun with that. It was a game that my wife and I also could enjoy together. So really found myself enjoying at least the earlier days of Hearthstone. Not so much recently, to be honest, but earlier days. And then got back into Magic more recently, as you were pointing out, especially with MTG Arena happening. But it all goes back to, Artifact. I was always telling myself, I'm going to wait till it comes out and, wait and see. I was trying not to get overhyped about it like so many people were. But now that I've been able to experience it, I understand why there was so much hype. And once again, happy to be here when it comes to Artifact, and looking forward to creating some good content for you guys. So,
Speaking of hyped, Liquid Hype will be joining us pretty soon.
Nice.
Probably like 10, 15 minutes
like
or so?
10 to 15 minutes, yeah, I would say so. We're going to go over a couple of content pieces here and talk a couple discussions, I guess. But yes, I know there's people tuning in that are fans of the man himself, Hyped, and we're very happy and excited to have him on. In just a little bit, we're going to talk plenty of Artifact and maybe a little bit of his history as well. He's actually got a really interesting history in the sense that he's not only has he been a pro player in trading card game in Hearthstone, but he's also been a pro in Overwatch to an extent, and World of Warcraft Arena before that even. Played at a very, very high level. So this guy's done it all, honestly, in esports in a lot of ways. Very Blizzard focused, to be fair. Now he's kind of coming over to the Valve side with Artifact. So obviously we have plenty of questions to ask him, and he'll be joining us in about 10 or 15 minutes from now. But one other thing I did want to bring up before we move on to some discussions here is talking about that community. Obviously, a big part of Artifact, one of the more unique things even, is the built-in tournament system. And we most certainly, like I'm sure there's going to be plenty others out there, but we most certainly want to make use of that, ideally even having weekly, multi-weekly events. Something like we've even talked about, possible ideas of having a circuit of sorts that lead towards the end of the month, one big event after multiple ones throughout the month. So we don't have it fully fleshed out just yet, but know that that is coming. And if you're interested in stuff like that, absolutely yet another reason to be following us, joining our community, and looking forward to having fun on that end. So.
Yeah, definitely. One of the toughest things with Dota and like having a Dota community is that it's really hard to have community events because you have to get enough people to maybe play some in-houses and at least 10 people minimum. And then if you want to have like a tournament or anything like that, you need like 40, 50, 60 people. And that's just a lot of organization. Whereas with the Artifact tournament system, it's very easy to just kind of throw up a tournament. Here's the link to the tournament. It's open, play through, a Swiss kind of ranking group stage. And then you go right into like a bracket. And as you were saying, there's so much you can do with it because all you have to do is just create this tournament and anybody can join. Very, very easy to work with. And something like a circuit is something that really excites me, like building a little bit of a linked tournaments where you can actually build towards something and have that progression in the game.
It's going to be fun, man. It really is. Again, this is the beginning. Valve is obviously very good when it comes to fostering a competitive community. Speaking of Dota and CSGO, it's great examples, of course. And I'm sure Artifact is going to not only have that backing, but even more, again, with this tournament system in-game. So, all right, let's start getting into the discussions now that we had for this specific podcast show. Once again, guys, these podcasts, that's more the intro for the overall, but now moving forward, future podcasts, it'll be more about talking points that happen, if a big event took place. Maybe, dare I say, some balance changes, which that's something I will talk about here in a second. But, bigger reasons to be doing a podcast. But, one of many things, pieces of content that we're going to be creating here when it comes to Artifact Alchemy. All right, big thing. Lo and behold, we're here. Game comes out tomorrow. Valve has suggested they're saying it's going to be in the 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time range. I'm a little bit surprised. Originally, I heard it was going to be more like 9 to 10 a.m. That would make sense, being on the West Coast and launch everything right as they come into the offices. But they want to fine-tune some stuff perhaps, and they're going to release it a little bit later on. But that's what they officially announced. So what I figured makes sense, now that it's finally here. Thinking back, it's been a year plus 2 months or so since the actual announcement happened. TI7, you and I were both there. In fact, I don't even know. I was at the beer garden. Were you actually there as well when that announcement happened? Or
I was definitely in the stadium. I remember the audible sigh of disappointment that came out of the crowd when they announced Artifact, and that's honestly kind of how I felt myself at the time, just because I was so focused on Dota, and we're at TI, and it's tradition for Valve to announce a new hero or some huge change to the map or event or something like that at TI, and suddenly they're like, "Hey, you like Dota? Here's a card game." Everybody was just like, "What?"
It was the same reaction outside, and I was absolutely one of those people. But to be fair, I think, as you mentioned, when it comes to what the expectation is, heroes, matches, whatever, but Half-Life 3, people like to give their hopes up for that. So I know there's plenty of people. There's plenty of people there that were expecting it when it's why they were expecting it. Who the fuck knows? But they really shouldn't have been. But so I feel like that was a little bit of the negative too, unfortunately, that I received. But it reminded me, actually, I happened to be at the BlizzCon that Hearthstone was announced at. This is before we even knew what it was. And then BlizzCon, they, one of their big announcements, this was back in 2013, maybe I want to say 2014. Anyways, same exact reaction, honestly. It's they announced it like trading card game, and everyone's just like, oh, what? Where's our, next Diablo, things like that. Well, we got Diablo Immortal, and that's another discussion. Anyways, but here we are now, like I said, about 14 months later, and talk about changing opinions, at least for me, from my initial what I saw. But to be fair, I also was willing to give it at least a try. One of the things that I thought about off the bat, if with them creating a trading card game, was, well, it potentially is going to be a true trading card game, unlike Hearthstone and online Magic and all these other trading card games online where you could potentially trade cards or even sell cards. Now, obviously, we have information where you can't trade cards, but you can sell cards. You can sell and buy cards, which I think is good enough and does at least give it a more better feel when it comes to a trading card game and being able to work the market like that and have fun in that aspect as well.
Yeah, I will say that once I heard that Richard Garfield was involved in the project, I got a lot more excited about Artifact, just knowing what he's done with Magic and my background playing Magic. It just really made sense. And as far as the marketplace goes, I mean, we'll have to see what that looks like. There have been various other games that have tried marketplaces, and it's been hit or miss. I remember Diablo 3 when the marketplace first came out. A lot of people had aspirations of like grinding loot and selling loot. People have done that in World of Warcraft where they grind gold and sell gold online and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's actually built into this game where you have the ability to do that. So I'm very, very interested to see what the marketplace looks like. And it sounds like we're going to get a look at it today for the first time.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, it's on it's on the biggest gaming marketplace that exists, Steam.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have a pretty good idea of how to run a market. So,
well, yeah, speaking of that, in case you guys missed it, this tweet came out pretty much like an hour ago. Like we were prepping the final preparations for this podcast, and then this tweet came out. Now, to be clear on what you said, it's only commons and uncommons. I checked a half an hour ago, though, and it still wasn't up, so I don't know if they're still actually turning it online. But point is, as you see here, as they're suggesting, they want to kind of start getting a feel of how it's going to work. Because even they don't know. I mean, and that's understandable. Yes, they have a marketplace, and they've had one forever, which is great, but this is different. It's safe to say it's going to be a different impact on the marketplace, more than likely. In terms of just the constant buying and selling of cards. And obviously we have no clue what the expectations are going to be in terms of prices for commons and uncommons, let alone rares especially. Is it going to be some ridiculous prices, or will it just all be lower because everyone's getting so many? Who the hell knows, right? The market will determine that in the end. But yes, it did come out, or the commons and uncommons should be on the marketplace later on today. We can start getting that idea at least. So,
yeah, I'm really curious to just look at that. I'm not a huge stock market person or anything like that, but I am just interested in the opinions of people on various cards. What do people actually think is valued very highly? And with all of the NDA being dropped and everything, there is a decent content that has been made and shown about Artifacts. So we do have quite a few opinions by very good players through the BTS tournament that happened and the various content channels that other people have. Giving their tier list for the heroes and for the cards and what items are worth buying and what heroes are worth running and what cards are worth picking in drafts.
Yeah.
But that's stuff that's going to fluctuate. And of course, once the second set comes out, it's going to completely change how that is perceived as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to figure it's going to be similar to Magic in that sense. Obviously, already has been doing that for 20 plus years or whatever it is. So, and what I mean by that is there will be influencers, whether it's the content creation or tournaments, events, these big events that take place, and all of a sudden, this one draft or this one deck does very well with these specific cards, and naturally, those cards, everyone's going to be wanting to try that deck out or, realize the power of it. Those cards will spike in price, and, that's where the fluctuation will definitely come into play. As you also pointed out, there are plans for more sets. This is just the first of, I don't know if they've announced, I
certainly hope
how
so.
many. Yeah, I mean, we got the Call to Arms set right here is what it's being called. I was looking at it earlier. There's 12 heroes per color, so it's 48 heroes right now, I believe, in the game. And many of those are not even Dota heroes, right? So you figure that there's going to be many more Dota heroes at least, and possibly even still more new heroes that they're going to be bringing into the game. So those are the expectations there, at least coming up. But now what do we think? We don't want to make this just simply about like, oh, praising Artifact across the board and, this is the greatest game ever. And because frankly, we don't know yet. That's really what all this is. We actually just don't know how it's ultimately going to play out. The early addiction is there. We can vouch for that. But what's the longevity going to be like, and how's it going to be like down the line a couple years from now? What would you say that you're looking forward to being improved on as a result of that right there? Is there something that stands out to you that's like well, they probably need to make sure to fix this or make sure this happens before it gets out of hand? Or
Well, I definitely think one of the big things is having some sort of more transparent system as far as the matchmaking goes. I mean, obviously, I'm coming from like a very Dota centric perspective, but in Dota, it took a long time for Valve to implement a matchmaking system that actually has like a fairly transparent ranking and all of that. But not even talking about whether there's matchmaking in Dota or in Artifact, but it just seems like right now, okay, you click on, there's like, it's in casual. If you look at the UI, it's in casual play. There's a global matchmaking. How do I know if I'm playing against good people or bad people? And then there's the expert stuff where, again, it's just like it throws you in with somebody, but there's no indication of like whether this person's a good player or an expert player or what. I just feel like there's a little bit of lack as far as that kind of progression in the game. Okay, yes, you get your cards, cool, but then most competitive games have some sort of goal for the competition as opposed to just like playing the game.
Yeah, no, I that's actually where I was honestly planning on heading myself. The idea of having some kind of ladder system within the game. They already got the tournament structure, which is great and going to be great for fostering that competitive community, both for big time tournaments as well as just your Friday evening, playing with 7 buddies and doing an 8-man Swiss event or whatever it may be. But when you're queuing up, just on your own right now. The constructed and the keeper draft is, I think the keeper draft is fun, but even that could use some kind of ranking system, right? Like you said, sure, you are getting packs and you're getting some kind of reward ultimately, but I feel like there's plenty of competitive people out there. This has been proven time and time again. I feel like with all these online games that they want some kind of system where they can show how good they are. They want to be like, see, I'm number 10 in the world or NA according to this ladder right here, and show all their buddies. And so coming from World of Warcraft, even myself to an extent, again, we'll have Hyped later on, I'm sure he can agree on this too, there's, as the competitors go, that they really like to look at that status and use it to kind of reflect and on their, well, dare I say, EPing, maybe we should be seeing that. But
I mean, let's be honest, there's already been for Artifact, and we know that there's going to be a big tournament that Valve has announced. So how do we know who's good? Like, we have to have some sort of system for determining like who we should be looking at and studying and talking about when it comes to the competitive scene, because it's not like Artifact is just made as sort of a random game that Valve is throwing out there. Valve is very serious about creating competitive and esport titles. CSGO, Dota, 2 of the biggest ones in the entire world, very successful. Like, I'm sure that's a big part of Artifact, and I know it's something that the community is looking forward to as well. So I think that's the main thing for me, and obviously I'm just a very competitive, so that's one of the biggest draws for playing a game like Artifact. It's not really about collecting the cards or playing the market. It's about like trying to beat people.
Yeah. Again, they've already, for launching the game initially, they're already doing quite a bit. I keep going back to the tournament system and really how clean the UI is and the sound and everything in the game. It is a fantastic game, and there's plenty of games that come out nowadays, a lot of these battle royale type games especially, where they're quote unquote in beta and there's all these janky things happening, all these bugs, and it's obvious that this game is not even close to even half finished.
Was it Radical Heights? That game was...
There's been some bad ones. I try to just forget, but Artifact is not that. This is a very polished game that is in a true beta, has been in a true beta for a bit, but it's officially coming out tomorrow, and it is ready. I mean, I think you would agree on that. It really is ready to be released as an actual game, especially in today's standards, let alone just in general. But all right, I think we're actually ready to bring on our special guest, though, so I'm going to go ahead and try to do so real quickly, set it up. Want to make sure this is going to work. Give him a call. Are you there, Hyped?
Can you hear me?
Kinda. Oh, Mike's moving around.
Okay.
Much better.
Can you re-invite me to the call?
I can re-invite you to the call, sure. Let's do that real quickly. Oh, no, he's good.
Okay, there we go.
Nice.
There we go. Got the camera going. All right, cool. Hyped, welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you.
How's it going? I'm happy to be here.
Give me a second here, real quickly. Yeah, go ahead and talk, Elevate. I gotta do some editing now on the fly.
Promise I'll only do one of these. The hype is very high right now for the game being released.
It is. That's good.
I'm happy to have another Liquid fan. I guess you're a Liquid pro, but on the podcast as well. That's sort of where I got my start, was working through Liquid Dota. So
okay, cool.
They took me to my first TI, and I have a Liquid flag on my wall actually right now. So
that's sweet. I still haven't been to a TI yet, so I'm excited to maybe go if they have Artifact there. I don't know how exactly they're gonna do it, but yeah.
Yeah,
right. That's true. Is it going to be TI Dota and then a secondary TI for Artifact at the same event? Who knows?
That's another thing that's going to be. Yeah, see, I don't know if they would. They probably would tie it in with TI, actually. Now I think about it,
Yeah, TI is so huge. They may as well just add it on.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
All right, I think we're good. There we go. I want to be able to show you off on webcam, the beautiful person you are after all, Hype. So we are good to go now. Apologize there for the quick production. All right, so again, happy to have you here. As you mentioned, currently you officially signed with Team Liquid, if I'm not mistaken, for Artifact, right?
That's correct, yes.
All right, how's that journey been so far? It's still obviously very new.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun. I'm very happy with Liquid so far.
They treating you well over there. That's good. You did get to compete at the BTS event. What was that experience like?
That was pretty cool. You're always worried about not being able to play from home, because it was an online tournament. Most people are playing from home. You worry about like how it's going to affect your performance, but the environment there is very chill. It's very, very nice setup they have over there.
Yeah.
You also got to do some commentating and like panel work as well. Have you done any of that before? Like
a little bit in the past for like Hearthstone and stuff, but it was really hard. Obviously, we went in there wanting to talk about the game, and a lot of the feedback was like no one knew what was going on. It was way too complicated, and like we knew that it would be hard to describe. But then once you start talking about the game, it's hard not to talk about like all this cool stuff about it. So
I was one of those people. I'm not going to lie. I was one of those people that was almost like pissed off. I'm like, I have no clue what's going on. You guys are speaking in a foreign language right now. But I'll say that I've been telling people, and I'm sure you guys would agree, honestly, when you start playing the game, you pick up on that, and it actually comes to you ideally pretty quickly, especially if you have history in card games. And then all of a sudden, after a day or so of playing, you'll be able to start picking up watching a stream and realizing, okay, that makes more sense. Like, see, even simple things like the color of the hero having to be in that one lane for you to play that color card. Mm-hmm. I wasn't picking up on that watching it until I actually played the game itself. So it helps.
Yeah, no, it's super confusing, but it's actually quite fun when you're still learning those first few days and figuring everything out. Mm-hmm. I found it pretty enjoyable.
So yes, speaking of learning the game, I'm a pretty big fan of the tutorial that they have. I don't know if do you come from a Dota background at all?
Actually, I haven't played if they've redone the tutorial. I played an old version of the tutorial. Okay. Is there like other Dota ties?
It's still garbage. Oh, okay. You're talking about Artifact?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say the Dota tutorial is notorious
Dota's
garbage.
Horrible,
so I'm happy about how good the tutorial is in Artifact at this point.
They put the resources into the Artifact one for sure. Yeah, it's a little bit of an upgrade there. All right, so before we get too much into Artifact, though, real quickly, Hyped, I want to let people know, obviously, who you are in terms of your background. So real quick, would you mind just doing a brief history? Again, you come from playing World of Warcraft Arena. You come from playing Overwatch, Hearthstone. What's your deal as an esports star?
Yeah, so I started playing WoW a bunch. PvE'd a bunch, but like people don't really know that much about PvE. It wasn't that like, I don't know, the people that were in it know about it, but I won't talk too much about it. And then PvP, obviously, I did a bunch of Arena. For people that know, I played with Wreckful a bunch, got some title glads, collected a few, and then but actually played more PvE overall. But yeah, and then I moved over to Hearthstone and played that professionally for about 3 years, and then I played Overwatch professionally for about 2 years before switching back to Artifact here.
Were you actually involved in Overwatch League?
I did not quite make it in the league. That's when I stopped playing. So yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so now Artifact is here. What attracted you to Artifact in terms of wanting to play Artifact and pursue it as a career now?
Well, when I was playing Overwatch, I'm someone that likes strategy games, and it sort of appealed to me because it's like this FPS game, but it sort of, I thought it would have a lot of strategy, but I wasn't really quite getting my fill compared to Hearthstone beforehand. So after playing Overwatch for a while, I was like, I want to get back into a strategy game. So I tried Hearthstone a little bit, but I was not enjoying it at all. And then I heard about Artifact, and once I was able to play, I was like, oh yeah, this is really fun, and I like it a lot. So.
We were talking earlier ourselves in terms of, again, we don't want to make this just everything's perfect with Artifact. It does have some issues here and there, and it still is going to be a new game in the end. Is there something for you that you would like to see improved upon, or something that comes to mind where off the bat, with it being released tomorrow, that you're hopeful that they may add on to the game, or, balance or whatever?
I'm not too worried about the game because every time I talk to any Valve employee, they just fill me with confidence that they're always going to figure it out. Even if it's wrong, they'll fix it. I'm really not too worried about it, but I did hear you guys talking about a ranking system, and I do love a nice ladder, ranking system in any game I play.
Again, you could appreciate that, like I was saying, with your WoW history especially. So,
yeah.
Playing Artifact, how long have you been playing Artifact, actually? How long have you had a beta for?
I got on the beta around April or so, something like that.
Oh, wow. So you've had it for a little bit now. Okay. That makes sense. Is there... Go ahead.
Oh, I think it started around January, so...
Okay.
I was in the third wave or something like that.
How much would you say has it changed?
That's what I was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah, how much evolution have you seen in the game from what you were shown initially, if you're allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, so when I first got in, there was Constructed, and then it would focus on these different forms of draft. We have a version of draft now, but they had this version that I think they'll be bringing back later, so I don't want to spoil it too much. I'll just say it was called Chaos Gauntlet, so you can maybe imagine. But it was really fun, and I'm sure they'll do it later. And we played a bunch of that, and then it was all right, now we're going to try this version of Draft Gauntlet, which isn't the version we have now. It was the way you pick cards was a little bit different, and then they brought it into the version we have now. But there actually was very few people in the beta. So usually I'd log on and actually only be able to play 3 or 4 games, and then I'd go do something else because no one would be on. So,
well, that problem will be fixed tomorrow, especially.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of people on. I can guarantee that. Over the time that you've had the game now and to this day, do you prefer limited more, or the draft format more, or do you prefer constructed? Is it either or for you?
I do prefer limited a bit more, but it's still fun to play constructed. But I think overall, I'd mostly prefer to play limited with just some constructed when I get bored of it, get bored of limited or want to change.
Is it the randomness of limited, or the changing every game, or what?
Limited, it kind of reminds me of Hearthstone Wild. It's just everyone's doing these crazy powerful things, and yeah, sometimes the opponent's doing these crazy things to you can't really do anything about. I don't know if that's true yet. I haven't played that much, but it feels a bit just high rolly is the way I describe it.
Okay. Is there a color you try to shoot for when you do draft?
When I draft, let's see. Red and black are going to be the strongest, but I still enjoy blue a lot. So I pick blue more than I probably should.
Okay.
Put it that way.
Are you a blue player at heart then? Do you like the control style of play, or?
Yeah, it's just fun to have your little weak heroes get destroyed over and over again, then you still win the game later.
I hate blue decks. I hated it in Magic as well. I was always anti-blue because it's just the most frustrating crap to play against. But people like yourself, I'm sure you love that. You love knowing that you're pissing off your opponent. So.
No. In this game, it feels like they think they're winning the whole time, and then you just turn the corner at the very end. So,
Double Thunder Gods into clearing all the heroes off the board. Nothing quite like having that happen to you.
The BTS tournament, going back to that real quickly, did that get you even more excited? I assume so. In terms of future events, was the format really good, you think, or are you hopeful of changing on the format, or what?
It was actually a format that they've done a few times in the beta for their tournament, so it was nothing new. But I like the format. But I've been running my own tournaments in game, so I'm going to experiment with some more variations on that format. Basically, more redrafts, because that way you undo like the variance of like someone rolling a really good deck. So you just have people re-roll decks like 3 or 4 times. So if they made it really far, you know that they've done it they weren't just carried by one lucky deck. So either they got lucky 4 or 5 times, or they're just actually good.
Speaking of the tournaments, is that something that, I mean, for me, that's like one of the most exciting parts of the entire thing, and the client. Is that something that you're really going to be looking to focus on, or does that get you really excited about Artifact as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's really good for pro players or aspiring pro players if they want like a higher quality practice to join these tournaments where people actually are trying really hard to win and trying their hardest rather than just grinding ladder.
So you plan to keep doing I don't know if you've been doing it weekly or something, but do you plan to keep doing your events as somebody is speeding out there? Jeez.
Sorry, I might have to close the window there.
No, it's fine. But
I've
yeah,
actually been doing them daily.
Daily even?
That's because I've been streaming daily, and it's a nice thing to do on stream. It's pretty fun because the game is so draining that you want some downtime between games. So it's nice to be able to play a game and then spectate a game or something while we wait for the Swiss rounds to finish. But
I was going to say, you probably appreciate being a spectator at times as well, because we're all still trying to learn, right? I mean, still plenty of knowledge to gain when it comes to this game. So something else we were kind of talking about earlier and touching on somewhat is we have expectations that there's going to be more sets that eventually come out. Are you finding yourself, because again, you've been in the beta now for a little bit, are you finding yourself almost fiending more cards, another set to come out, or are you fine with where it's at? You're just excited for more people to come in?
From a constructed standpoint, it would be cool to see more cards added, just so we can have some more innovation and figure out some more cool combos. From limited, I'm pretty happy with where things at, but I mean, who doesn't want more cards? More cards would definitely make the game more fun, I feel like. So.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure, it will come down the line. So,
speaking of the new players coming in, do you think that, like, I don't know, I'm not super sure that the biggest population is actually going to come from the Dota community personally. Do you think Hearthstone is going to embrace Artifact, or what are your expectations as far as like, the cross pollination of games?
I think there is a bit of interest from the Dota community, but almost everyone that plays Hearthstone, I don't see why they wouldn't just give Artifact a try, because it's like you don't really have to learn anything. You don't really have to learn the basic mechanics of card games. You just already know what you're doing. You just have to figure out like the cards. And I think most card game players like to try multiple games because all they have to learn is the cards, and they can just play the game. So definitely expect a lot of Hearthstone players. But actually, I don't really have a sense of like how big the Magic community is. Like I know lots of people play, but but like sometimes they play when they're a kid and they come back and then they don't play. But I think I've seen a lot of Magic players in the beta, so I'll put it that way. It might be a huge population from the Magic community.
Joel Larson, right? He gave up his spot on the Swedish team, I think, just to like focus on Artifact, if I remember correctly, which is pretty big deal, I would say.
I could see the Magic kid. That's what I was going to say. The Magic community seems like they could be a bit more stubborn when it comes to changing their game. Obviously, Magic's been around for 20 plus years, so that's very understandable when it comes to a change. And a couple of the Magic people that I happen to know are the opposite, where they're like, yeah, we didn't really plan to play it. We're just sticking with Magic. It's still a fun game to play. So that is going to be an interesting market, though, to see how that does transfer over. I mean, again, you can play multiple games, right? It goes. This is the same thing happened with the MOBA days. I mean, same thing happened with Han and League of Legends and Dota too. Everyone has their own game, but you can play multiple games. So I think that'll stand here.
You actually know a few Hearthstone players that are planning on just playing both. So
yeah,
a lot of them actually.
Why not?
Exactly. Anything else elevated?
No, I think
we're good. Don't want to keep you too long here.
Yeah, man.
So hyped. Really do appreciate you joining us, man. Definitely means a lot. Again, this is our debut episode here for Artifact Alchemy. So do you have any plans right now? Is there, again, I don't know if you can say, but anything as far as events coming up that you plan to play in, or is it still up in the air?
Oh yeah, so there's a constructed tourney coming up. Some people may have heard of it. It's called the We Play tourney. They've been advertising a little bit.
Yes.
And it's sort of spread out over a lot of different days. So I'm going to be in a later group. So I'll be playing on December 2nd, and that'll be constructed. But I will say that launch day is tomorrow, right?
Yep. Yes.
And yes, I'll be streaming a bunch and doing some sort of giveaways and stuff like that tomorrow.
Nice. And where can people find you? It's just twitch.tv/hyped, right?
Yeah, it's easy. Twitch.tv/hyped, and then my Twitter is @hyped_AF.
How did you get hyped? You must have got that way back in the day in Twitch.
Yeah, actually, I had someone that works at Twitter. Yes, they got me hyped AF and hyped_AF. So I have both, just in case I want to switch it.
Dang,
nice.
Look at you. You got the
Good
hookups. You've been around a while. You've been competing, and obviously expectations, I'm sure, to come here as looking pretty good as far as Artifact goes. So best of luck. We're going to talk about that We Play tournament, as you mentioned, as well in a little bit here. So best of luck in that event. Of course, we will be watching. So thanks again for joining, man.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. So there we go. We got... Yeah, see, I got to fix this now. Oh, no. The production. Okay, we're good. There we go. All right, Hype joining us there on the show. Really do appreciate that. Obviously, again, for our debut episode. Cool for him to accept and take the time. And, yeah, he seems like just a genuine good guy, too, the fact he's doing these tournaments every day. Like, I mentioned yesterday's tournament that I happened to watch and cast at the end for the top 8. It started at 12 in the afternoon in my time. It ended at 10:30 p.m., I think it was. So 10 and a half hours right there. That was it was like an 80-player tournament. He did a double Swiss into the top 8 playoff bracket. So the format didn't help, I guess, but still, he was doing it for the community, and that's cool to see. It's cool to see people like that.
It's super reminiscent of like the online poker days where you start, like the Scoop, the Sunday whatever Poker Stars tournament at like 9 a.m. and it would go until like 6 p.m. if you made the final table or something like that. So
yeah,
I definitely can see some of these tournaments having that sort of experience.
Well, again, we obviously reference Magic quite a bit, and I think understandably so. It's a very similar game in a lot of ways. That their GPs and everything, their events, it lasts over 3 days. I want to say it usually starts on a Friday afternoon, evening, goes to Saturday, and then Sunday's the final. So it's you, depending on the format, you will have some longer events. Now, again, when we run tournaments, I'm looking forward to the single elimination brackets, or even 8 to 16 players. Maybe keeping a little. So does every GP start on Saturday? I guess I'm wrong on that. Okay, I thought it would start on Friday. Does something else start on Friday then? I swear I see Magic streams like starting up on Friday evening. I guess it might just be another part of the event. Point is, it takes a while, and that was the ultimate point right there, or it can depending on the format. Cool, but you know what? Let's jump into the We Play event, because obviously he was mentioning that. And see, I was a little unsure when I was reading into this in terms of how it actually was going to play out, because it's not really a LAN event. See, initially I thought it was going to be a LAN event in Ukraine. It looks like it's in Kiev, Ukraine, and they do have talent out there. It looks like who's out there? Suns fan is out there, of course. We know him. Swim. He was at the BTS event. Charmer. Can't say I'm personally familiar with the name, but I'm sure a known talent himself. And then there's several players that it lists out from Raynad, Wife Coach, Life Coach, etc. Some big name players, obviously hyped, as we just found out. So it is an online event in that sense, but the talent are going to be there at the LAN. Definitely with like a studio production would be my guess. So this is really kind of the first big event. It's a $50,000 overall prize pool. As he also mentioned, it's kind of in 3 different stages though. One of the tournaments, the first one will be a $10,000 prize pool, it looks like. And that starts on November 29th, so in a couple of days, this Thursday even, and it goes throughout the week in kind of a launch tournament. This is, from what I believe to be, like kind of the first really somewhat bigger event post-release.
Yeah, and I mean, not really that surprisingly. It seems like the circuit style makes a lot of sense with a card game or a online card game like Artifact, where you sort of have some storylines building up over the course and some metas developing, much in the way that the DPC has added a whole lot of that to the Dota 2 scene.
I'll say the BTS event, I was obviously intrigued to watch initially because I hadn't played the game yet, and just like so many people, I was willing to try to learn a little bit at least. And I always doing that stuff too, being my background, like to see the production, see how the game looks as a spectator, stuff like that. as I mentioned, it was kind of a frustrating experience because I didn't know the game. But now that I played the game, and it's coming out tomorrow, I am that much more excited for an actual tournament to take place and seeing what these pro players are running. You know, seeing what heroes, the colors, and everything. Obviously, I've seen there's going to be a limited portion of it too. You know, what they're drafting. I'm finding myself already watching plenty of streamers and getting that insight as well across the board. So can't wait for that, honestly. That starts on Thursday, as I mentioned, with the We Play tournament. Something we forgot to ask Hyped that I wanted to was about this whole this deck list feature. Get his opinion on that. Damn. But I suppose we could talk about it ourselves. Our opinions matter too. So what we're referring to is it's kind of the recent drama as we go into the release where this deck list, where initially it was in the game in the earlier beta stages apparently, but then they took it out before more and more people started getting access to the beta. But what it is, it's on either side, left or right, you actually have access to look at the deck for both yourself as well as your opponent. The information's right there. Now, obviously you can't see exactly what cards they have in their hand, but you can see ultimately what cards they do have access to and what they potentially could have. And it's caused a lot of controversy, I'll put it that way. So I'll start with you, Elevate. I mean, what is your opinion on this whole situation?
I don't like it. I don't really find it to be adding a whole lot to the game. Like, basically it gives you, I mean, first of all, the UI looks really cluttered when it's up. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd much rather just be able to see the board. Secondly, I feel like there's, some skill in kind of being able to theory craft what your opponent might be running. Of course, the other side of that coin is, hey, well, it'd be nice to know what tools you're up against so that you can plan your tools accordingly. But I kind of feel like part of a card game is really just like all of a sudden somebody drops that one card and you're like, oh no, like now I have to deal with this. And so I think that is kind of just an inherent part of the game. Of course, when you look at something like the Magic Pro Circuit, everybody kind of knows, at least in the current set, like the Guilds of Ravnica set, everybody knows like these kind of archetypes. Mm-hmm. This deck is going to have these cards, this deck's going to have these cards, and we'll probably see that in Artifact as well. The Axe Legion Commander combo, usually with like a Phantom Assassin Bounty Hunter and a Bristleback, is like a very, very common red-black deck that follows a specific archetype of play. So, like, I don't think the deck list is that necessary, especially once we get into more people playing the game, because everybody's going to be like, well, I know that these cards exist in the game, and so you can kind of plan accordingly.
This is honestly a tough one for me because I really have gone back and forth as the days gone on, thinking about this with where it started to kind of blow up with the discussions on Reddit and everything. One of my initial reactions was, well, how does Magic do it? Because I could have sworn initially when I was thinking about that, in Magic, you actually disclose your deck from the beginning of an event, and everyone just knows, what you're potentially going to be running, what your sideboard is in their case, and what they're going up against. Now, I did come to find, after I tweeted out about that, I was wrong. It turns out that apparently only the top 8 usually of a major event is when the decks are disclosed, and then that's where you have access to the information of what they're actually running. But at that point, it almost is mute because, as you were just mentioning, these top-tier players, they understand what these top decks are going to be running. I mean, there's very, very, very rarely going to be a oh shit surprise card that comes out of nowhere at that very, very high level, especially over time. Now, initially, yes, when everyone's still newer to the game, sure, that can happen, and it does take away from that. But then there's the other, that's where I could say, like, okay, yeah, maybe it is a little bit too much. But then there's the other part of me that respects the idea of information in games in general. A burden of knowledge is an issue that I think many games do suffer quite a bit, and frankly, Dota did for a long time, and they still do in some ways. I've always been against the idea that you cannot see the enemy's mana pool as a player. However, your diehard Dota players that have been playing from the early days, as I have myself, but your diehard Dota players will suggest that's a skill gap. It absolutely should be there, and screw these new players that they have to get used to that idea. You have to click on the hero to see how much mana he has.
That was my initial reaction. I was like, what? You can just click on the hero. That's not that
exactly.
bad.
But why? Why do I have to click on the hero to get that information? And that's intimidating to newer players. Again, I come from this is my background coming from working in the video game industry, and obviously with Heroes of New Earth and in Han, you could see the mana pool, so maybe you're going to sit here and say, okay, well, the bias is there, but that's just one example, to be fair. Not to get too off track, but so there is that burden of knowledge where I think for these newer players, honestly, when I saw that came in the game, and as a spectator, yes, it was very cluttered, but at the same time, it's still nice to have as a spectator. But when I was playing, I found myself using it and being like, okay, yeah, he is running this card. I remind myself what this card does. Okay, I maybe should look out for that. Why is that such an issue? I mean,
it feels like cheating to me.
It's yes. Okay, then there's it's almost like wall hacking in an FPS game. You just know where they're at. I don't think it's that extreme. I
think one of the suggestions that I saw on Reddit, and I definitely do find myself wishing that there was some sort of graveyard system in Artifact.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Right now, you can only see the very last card that they played.
Mm-hmm.
And since we all know in Constructed, well, we will all know once we play the game, that you can have a maximum of 3 of each card. In Magic the Gathering, it's 4, unless there's a rule that breaks that. But in Artifact, you can have up to 3 of any card in your deck. And so in that sense, like, it is really nice to be able to go back, because it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. You obviously can keep track. Okay, they've used this card once. Okay, now they've used it twice. But maybe like 3 or 4 turns later, you kind of forget. And so if you can check their graveyard and be like, okay, I see these 2, and that's nice that there's only one more removal card, for example, left to come, and you can plan accordingly. As far as like the actual deck list, I mean, I guess I'm still kind of like, the jury's still out a little bit. I don't really like it, but if they are going to keep it in, they absolutely need to make it more clear that it exists, because right now it's just a hotkey that you hit, and it's not very clear to people that you can, like, especially like a new player, for example. It's kind of there for new players, and right now none of them probably know that it exists.
No, that's a great point. And somebody brought that up earlier, and that kind of goes against what I'm just arguing right here, that, the whole burden of knowledge, yet if they don't even know the fucking button exists and get that knowledge, then that defeats the whole purpose. So that I 100% agree. If it is going to stay in, they should make it very obvious that it's there. So and now I'm running through ideas in my head, like, okay, maybe I could see the argument not to have it in limited, because draft, there is a lot more potential to have these curveball picks, because obviously the randomness of the draft itself, but then in constructed, in standard, it's okay to have because you expect more consistency. That could be an argument, but either way, I'm not going to sit here and say if they take it out, I'm going to, flip tables and crap. It's not the biggest deal in the world to me in the end, but I do see the argument why it is good, and I can see why they brought it back into the game. And part of me does want to see it stay, at least. Now, if they do take it out, fine. Make sure as a spectator, though, please, that we can use it. Cause,
it definitely needs to be there for spectating.
Yes.
For sure, 100%.
That is information that's necessary. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, let us know your opinions, obviously. Feel free to tweet at us. You can see just below our names your opinions, or say in Twitch chat, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave your comment, of course, on what you think on said discussion right there with the whole deck list coming out. Not much else to go over here. Don't want to keep these podcasts too long. Usually going to try to keep in the hour time frame. I suppose one more thing we thought would be fun to talk about was the marketplace itself. And it was, we mentioned earlier, the commons and uncommons are now apparently released. In fact, I could swear here, apparently there's an update for the game.
There's a tweet 38 seconds ago. The market is now live for commons and uncommons.
I'm going to do it right now. We're going to do this live on stream. Okay.
Here we go.
See, we're all very curious how this looks. The market is now live. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully I don't lag.
All right, real quick. While you're loading this, what's going to be the most expensive card?
See, off the top of my head, that's hard to say. Like, I got to pull it. Obviously, it's going to be either a rare or an uncommon. I would think a rare, especially. Can I sort by rarity? Yeah, let's sort by rare here. Some of the more popular played cards.
I'm gonna say Vesture of the Tyrant. Vesture of the Tyrant is gonna be the most.
Which one is that card?
It's the item that gives you 3
the
armor.
item. Yeah.
I think that's gonna be the most.
Horn
the
of
most
the
sought
Alpha.
after card.
Horn of the Alpha is obviously going to be pretty big too.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as item goes, yeah, especially the armor on towers is ridiculous. Yeah, that is insane. Emissary of the Quorum, I have a feeling is going to be decent, especially for green decks. She is a very, very powerful rare card, and it seems like really in any green deck we're going to be seeing that. Drow Ranger as a hero, also a rare hero, and she's being highly regarded as one of the stronger heroes right now, specifically with that green build.
Oh, weird.
What's up? Oh, that's it. Are you looking at it?
I'm checking at the UI, yeah.
Okay, here, let's check it
out. Literally just takes you to the Steam marketplace. There's no like in-game UI or anything.
All right, so rarity. I do not. Oh, wait, you can't do rares. I'm like sitting here. Where's my rares? So like Timber Saw. Let's see what happens. Sell. Do I want to show this? I don't know if I want to show this. Sorry, you have followed an invalid link. Cool.
But if you go to the buy cards, then you like put over a Luna, for example, you hit purchase, and it just creates a buy order on the community market. So it's just like selling Dota 2 cosmetics.
Really?
But at the same time, it will be nice because each cosmetic or each thing in the marketplace has its own little kind of like graph over time. So you'll be able to track prices over time.
Wait, so I went to put a Mazzy in. It's telling me price. There's nothing. There are no listings available for this item.
Well, it literally just went live.
It just went live. Yeah, what the hell, guys? Get your items
up. Nobody's listed anything. So you're creating a buy order. So if you put a certain price, then people can try and match your buy order. Have you done any purchasing of cosmetics on the Dota marketplace?
I've done
before?
crypto a little bit. Last night, you're saying words like buy order and shit. Like that sounds familiar. I haven't done much Dota though. Honestly, it's usually people just give me stuff and I'm like, all right, cool. I haven't worried about that.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, so it just uses the Steam marketplace, which has been used for cosmetics for CS:GO and Dota and Team Fortress, and so nothing real fancy. I was definitely expecting like an in-Artifact marketplace, but that's not the case.
You can't sell anything yet. Are you able to sell anything? It keeps saying sorry for me.
Let me try.
Yeah, because the buy works, but your inventory does not contain a context with ID2. What the fuck does that mean?
Let's sell a bristleback. Add all excess cards. I don't want to sell all excess cards. Yeah, it's not letting me sell.
Yeah, so that must be an issue. Way to go, Valve. Broken game. It's not ready for release. Sell collection now, make bank. That honestly, Zach, that I was mentioning, that was my strategy from the beginning. That's why I wasn't afraid to spend a little bit of money early on, because I kind of figure, especially, that's an advantage we have as beta players, that as soon as the market goes live, we can sell a bit and make the money back ideally. But we don't know. Like, we really don't. For all we know, everything's going to be stupid cheap, 5 cents, and it's like, well, that was pointless. I don't know. Yeah, I wish I could actually try to sell something here just to put something up and see what happens. But yeah, no, it's not working. It must.
Well, it does let me know that I have just a few cards left to complete the set. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. But
wait, a few cards left to complete. What do you mean by that?
So to have one of every copy.
Oh, okay. I'm missing quite a bit. How does it tell you? Where does it tell you that?
If you go to buy cards, and then there's a checkbox for to complete.
Oh, oh, wow. I'm missing a lot of cards. Yeah, I'm missing a lot of cards. Again, still a newer player here. I haven't invested the most. I'm not a pay to play player yet. All right, yeah, this is missing OD. Dang. Said no one ever. All right, cool. Well, let's rather than just sitting here and waiting for the sell order to work. So how does sell work? Again, we're trying, guys. It looks like it literally just launched, so it's understandable that it's not really working right now. Like again, I'll try to sell something, but it's probably gonna be the same thing. Sell Skywrath Mage. Sell. And it's the same message. Yeah, just keep saying sorry. So we're both getting the same error. I assume it's everyone else.
But if you're on that page, go ahead, just go to the community and go to the marketplace, and you can show like what the marketplace looks like.
Oh, community market. Oh, these are my things.
Yeah, and then
how do I sort it by artifact stuff?
I don't know.
What am I trying to sell? I'm trying to sell a Duke Nukem foil card. I don't even know I had this on.
What?
Duke Nukem foil. I put it up for $11.50. Why is no one buying this? I have a CS:GO.
Yeah, I mean, if you click on it, then you can see it with the price over time. So.
Damn, 150 or lower. Ugh. Not that low. I can't find it. I just saw they fixed the bug on Deck Tracker. It should only show cards your opponent has played or obvious cards from heroes. Really? Did they just do that? So that would be an interesting change to it. So that's like a graveyard, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there is this patch. Fixed a bug where the opponent's deck tracker was completely filled. It is intended that you can see the opponent's full deck list during tournament games to reduce the value of scouting. You will also be able to see the full opponent's deck list in private lobbies. In other modes, however, the opponent's deck tracker will update based on cards you've already seen. So in tournaments and... Okay.
That makes more sense to me. Because that was, that is one thing, right? So the deck list, obviously, it does combat, or even the playing field, if somebody has like a whole team of people that are doing research on their opponent's decks, like that's a pretty big advantage.
Yeah.
If you don't have that.
That makes sense. I like that. I like that, actually. That's kind of a nice medium. I like the graveyard idea, as you mentioned. That's essentially what they did, as you pointed out. So, cool. Yeah, I was really hoping this cell thing would work to show you guys. That would have been cool, but again, it's not, unfortunately. So, rather than just sitting here and making this podcast even longer, I think we should go ahead and wrap things up here.
It is giving me a total estimated price now, which is interesting.
Really? Where is it? Oh, at the bottom there?
So Bristleback is estimated to be a 3-cent card.
Well, it's
the only one. It's the only one I can see.
It's probably because people are actually getting it out. What's going on right now? This is their stress test. They did mention yesterday they were going to do like a stress test of sorts. I guarantee you that's what this is. And the stress test is not going too well so far. Oh, Mist of Avernus is also another card, by the way. It's only an uncommon, but still, that's a...
Yeah, that'll be valued for sure.
A strong one. But yeah, nothing I'm putting in is giving me an estimate even.
Okay, now the price for Bristleback has disappeared, but
I
can give you some insider trading information that Bristleback is going for 3 cents a card at the moment.
Isn't he a common?
Yes.
Yeah, commons are going to be nothing. I mean, commons are going to be like 5 cents. Like, I would be surprised if a common is more than 5 cents. Because, like, why? You get so many commons all the time. Uncommons, that's where it should jump up a little bit. And then, obviously, rares should be okay price. But
yeah, especially with the different tiers of the heroes at the moment. You will definitely see stuff like Axe being quite expensive, I think.
So it's going to use the Steam market? Absolutely tragedy. Yeah, that's not surprising. I mean, that's obviously... That's what they're going to take advantage of. They have the system, after all. Okay, I think we're good, though. I think we might as well wrap up the podcast, at least for the sake of people watching on the video or listening the audio portion here. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in. This was a fun first episode to kick it all off. Once again, if you missed the beginning real quickly, Artifact Alchemy. That's what we're also announcing today, myself and Elevated. Looking forward to launching this community, really, which is going to be both a mix of Discord and obviously we're going to run events, do a lot of streams. Dare I say some giveaways here and there? We'll see. But our YouTube page as well, we have up, and right now we only have a couple of videos, but that'll be filled up more and more, including stuff like this content piece here as a podcast, as well as educational videos to just entertainment videos, focusing all around Artifact. We want to build this community that you guys can feel welcome to learn all together, to have fun and enjoy this game that we're all definitely looking forward to playing. So that's, once again, kind of the overview of what to expect. Anything else to add there, Elevated?
Nope. Go check out the YouTube. We're going to put up some new videos very, very soon. hopefully archetypes of the different colors, and especially once we get into the full game release, I'm sure everybody will be looking for resources. So now you have one.
We'll post the Discord and chat here in a second, guys. Do apologize, haven't done that yet, but we'll get that here in a second. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, I believe we'll just have it in the comments below, of course. And again, feel free to follow us on Artifact Alchemy, at Artifact Alchemy, as you see there, both on Instagram as well as Twitter as on top of that. All right. Also, one more thing. We mentioned tournaments. Ideally, we do want to do a tournament this Saturday. We're still going to finalize some details, but we want to host a tournament this Saturday. Don't know how big it's going to be. It'll be more of a community event. Looking forward to that, though, kind of kicking off our hosting of tournaments then. Looking forward to that. So thank you once again for tuning in. Looking forward to playing some Artifact. By the time you see this, maybe you're already playing yourself with the release. Enjoy it, guys. We're going to be with you along with this journey here on Artifact Alchemy. Again, let's break your CBK, joined by Elevated. Until next time, we'll see you then.